Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton at Big C Sports, coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, of course. You good old boys in Canada, we love you. In Africa, the Big C tribe, but there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave, on a beautiful May the 23rd, 2019, Big C. Rondo Deportes, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Charlton, it's hot and sticky down here. I feel like a cinnamon roll from Cinnabon, boy. You know, I know I'm all sweet and everything. I feel like breakfast right now.
Well, Cinnabon is really good. I love when I'm walking through the mall and they got the Cinnabon going. It makes you stop and want to eat something, even if you're not hungry, Big C. That make any sense?
Well, Charlton, that taste bud of cinnamon, it's just such a wonderful, succulent flavor. But, you know, walking around here in this heat and humidity down south today, Charlton, the past couple of days, you know, is weighing on me. And I don't like taking that many showers, but I'm forced to.
I know you have probably heard that the drought is over. You can take more showers, not Big C. Opponents will not find you, Big C. That make any sense?
Well, Charlton, you know, it's just, I hate seeing all that good water come out of the faucet and go down the drain dirty. You know, normally we like to utilize that for something else. Yeah, we like to use it for something else. I do want to say today's show is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you, as well as a fleet of Cadillac cars. I do want to start today's show by just saying thoughts and prayers. I know that seems like a cheesy way of saying you're praying for people, but for anybody going through something, you know, the people in the Midwest suffering with a lot of tornadoes that have just ravaged the mid part of the United States, seeing cities underground, you know, underwater, and a lot of the tragedy that happens is there's no way to go. I mean, you can try to leave your property, but if you're in a lot of flat lands, everything is flooded out, Big C, especially in parts of Missouri. I know you're down south where it rains a lot. I want to get your thoughts on how people deal with that natural disasters like that. Your thoughts? Charlton, I mean, it's devastating. How can you deal with it other than try to recruit? But as our administration would say, there's no global warming going on. All this is the ill effects of global warming, Charlton, the excessive rainfall that we're getting here this spring. I mean, we haven't even gotten a summer yet. The tornadoes that are spurning up all over the place. This is because of the polar vortexes meeting all this warm weather from you know, global warming. Yeah. But, you know, the thing that I look at, Charlton, how do we help these people out as an administration? You know, administration is in these battles with all this political wrangling and everything. Oh, yeah. But the people that voted for this administration, Charlton, are the ones that need it the most. When you look at the farmers, and the administration is trying to say, well, that China's going to pay for the deficit that the farmers are having this year. You know, the president's going to charge them. I think we heard that rhetoric that Mexico is going to build a wall also.
It's news to them.
So all of these people that voted for something that was going to be great and are now being left out. And when you look at the relief that would have been there to aid these farmers and all, Charlton, you got to look at the tax cut that was given to the wealthy. Yeah. That's the money that was going for farm aid, Charlton, to help the farmers through devastation like this. Yeah. They lost everything. Now that money is not there in the government coffer, and even the infrastructure bill that the president walked out on, saying that the Democrats weren't willing to negotiate. When you don't have the taxes coming in that you had coming into the administration 4 years ago, because of the tax breaks that you gave to the wealthy, and you had 11% tax cut to them, then you don't have the money to fund infrastructure in America. So all of these people saying the art of the deal, you're getting a deal done on you. Yeah, and speaking of art of the deal, you know, we love politics and sports. We're not a dumbed down show. So people that say, why are you talking politics? Then just, you know, find somebody who doesn't read a lot. But Trump, he melted down in front of reporters. That's part of media. Reporters are part of media. And he said that he's a stable genius after Pelosi got under his skin. Unfortunately, we have the same group of people that I would think it was the plans that Obama would be a one-term, you know, president. It's always taken back and forth, you know, working together, Democrats, Republicans. But there's so much going on in our country that you have women in power, rising in power. We told you about a 100-year anniversary of women having
that right to vote, and now you have a POTUS saying he doesn't want to listen to a woman. That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, you're going to have to change with the times. I think that the irritation part to him is that he knows he's done something wrong, and he constantly talks about transparency.
Yeah.
If you're transparent, you should have testified with Mueller under oath.
Yeah.
And not only that, just release the full Mueller report. That way the public knows everything.
Yeah.
Nobody's hiding anything. Stop blocking people from testifying. Stop trying to block subpoenas. Just be transparent. Do what you say. Don't keep misleading your base saying that this is a witch hunt. If it's a witch hunt, if there's evidence against you, then prove that it's uncreditable. That this is the evidence that I have to back me up.
Yep.
All of this would come to an end. But as long as you're hiding and lying, Charlton, this will never end.
You know, I've always been told by my mother. She would always say, if you're tired of something, it's like a bed of thorns. Why keep laying down on that same bed that has thorns in it? And oftentimes, anyone can be accused of anything. You have a right to face your accuser. But if you're going to accuse me, at least accuse me with the person saying I did something. Don't tell me what he said, she said. Put all this together and figure out the truth. And what I find ironically, because we advocate for women to be in power, imagine, I mean, some people say she won anyway, but what if Hillary Clinton really get all the votes counted without the Russian influence, and that she would have become president of the United States? Would you imagine how difficult it would have been for Republicans to work with her? The same way McConnell said they wanted to make Obama a one-term president. And now you have Nancy Pelosi, Speaker of the House. It's a lack of respect for all women, Big C, not just Nancy. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you disregard just any voice in politics that's telling the truth, when you look at one part and you're not being bipartisan, is that you're constantly stonewalling. You're put in Washington, D.C. to represent the American people. And in representing the American people, that means you represent sports teams, owners, players, fans. You do all of that. And when you're not doing the job that you were sent to Washington for, why are you there? Why don't you resign? I mean, I look at so many politicians that will not resign, that will not give up their position, knowing that they're doing an inadequate or even a lying job in Washington, D.C. And yet we, as the general public, have to suffer through all of that rhetoric and non-action that they're taking to benefit the American public.
Since when have we ever known a man anywhere in the universe to give up power? Even if it's Darth Vader, he was trying to rule the universe. He didn't give up power. They had to take it. Does that make any sense?
Well, you know, taking power comes to vote. But we've proven as a country in the last several elections, the national elections and midterms, Charlton, that even voting is obstructive.
That's true, yeah.
When you spoke about Hillary Clinton, she wins the populist vote, just like Al Gore had won the populist vote, but they lose the Electoral College. The Electoral College, just like the First and Second Amendment, was set up when America only had 13 colonies and not even 1 million people in population. It was not built to grow with the expansion of the United States. And it needs to be altered. Just like you added amendments to the Constitution.
That's right.
You need to restructure amendments to the Constitution. When you think about a state like Wyoming, has 2 electoral votes. The same as California that has 52 million people. Wyoming has less than 1 million. And it has the same political clout that California does without the economic and populist base.
It doesn't make any sense, Big C. And speaking of media and fans, and I hear my brethren all over the universe, but especially here in Northern California, they don't talk about Pelosi and Trump, and because that really matters to the fans. You know, people are only fans while they're at the game for maybe 2 or 3 hours for a game. I know a lot of media, they're concerned with Drake being a non-sports star. He's loving the Raptors. He's kind of the prodigal fan of the Raptors. He's part of the organization. But they don't care about POTUS. Now, when people say, well, sports and politics don't mix, well, the sports and entertainment mix. Because people are doing shows on Drake, which has no power whatsoever to affect their lives, but they won't say anything about POTUS. And I just want to get your thoughts. Why are our sports channels so focused on Drake, a black man showing a lot of affinity for a team, but they won't say anything about POTUS that affects the bottom line for all the fans? That makes any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, when you look at the sports coverage of Drake as of late now, he's been a long-running Raptor fan, courtside seat holder, Charlton.
Yeah.
You don't see the Raptors broadcast down here in the U.S., but now that they're on national broadcast, this is a product of the broadcast companies, Charlton. You making a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
The only need to show Drake is why, because you need to accentuate your broadcast.
Right.
The game is about what's going on the floor and the coaches. And these are the producers and directors that are highlighting Drake.
Yeah.
He's no different than any other fan that's there on the court side.
Right.
He just happens to be a high-profile entertainer. So you're trying to get yourself some extra ratings. You're trying to draw in the younger female crowd because you're showing Drake a lot. So this is all that's about. That's trying to increase TV ratings.
Let me ask you a question. I know you've flown first class, and you've also been on some owners' planes, private planes. And I know you also flew commercial when you started out. Is there a difference in a private jet and first class on an airline and then standing in line at TSA for 2 hours to get on a commercial flight? Big C, your thoughts?
It's like driving a Bentley versus driving a Toyota Prius, Charlton.
Okay.
In a private plane, every seat is first class. Everything you get is first class.
Yeah.
You have a stewardess. Depending on the side of the plane, you might have two. And they're there for you every beckoning call. They ask you what you want all the time.
Yeah.
They're there. You don't have to wait. You don't even need a call button. You can call them because they're close enough to hear you.
Right.
So when you're sitting on a private plane, Charlton, and you have that type of clout, as every owner of a professional organization owns their own private plane.
Yes.
You move at your own discretion. You get there quicker. You don't fly the routes of the airlines, Charlton. You fly as the crow flies.
Yes.
You fly in a straight line. You get there. And you can leave at any time that you want, and that's the whole plus about it.
Let me get your thoughts on something. Because Drake is really, he's like the Beatles for Canada right now, and he's like the great Jack down in L.A. He used to be at the Forum all the time, now Staples. Spike Lee over in the Garden. If you have that kind of stature and money in life, you are treated different than the common person that buys a seat in the 5th or 18th row. You're not treated the same. So when I hear people saying that all fans should be treated the same, if that's the case, wouldn't there be a flat price for everybody to go into the arena, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, you must tell the fans that sit in Madison Square Garden that have to watch a losing team and pay $3,000 per ticket to sit courtside because Jim Dolan won't increase what the team can do, player or coach-wise.
Yeah.
When a player pays for something extra, when you sit in an executive lounge in an airport, when you're flying a first class, when you're an elite member on an airline, and you go into this executive lounge and everything there is free, you don't pay for anything versus a passenger sitting out on the concourse and having to go wait in one of those fast food lines to get something to eat, Charlton. There's a big difference. A lot of these lounges possess showers. They possess sleeping rooms where you can go and relax. So when you think about being treated as an executive, and any executive in America knows that.
Oh, yeah.
You don't sit there and wait in line with everybody else. It's like driving on the freeway. Do you drive in the express lane or you drive in the slow lane?
Yeah.
You pay the extra money to get in the express lane to be able to go, to get to where you want, to expedite what you're getting. That's what people do on courtside. When you sit courtside, Charlton, you expedite it in and out of the arena. You don't have to exit through the same exit that the general population does coming in and out of arena. Well, like in a football game or even having a luxury suite, Charlton. It's catered. You get something extra. You pay for what you get. It's just like if you land in a city, Charlton, and you want to have a luxury car take you from, you want to have limo service take you to and from the airport. Or do you want to ride Uber and share a car with somebody?
You want to have the limo do it. So when the Oakland Raiders out here in Northern California, and the dog pound in Cleveland, those fans are the cheeseheads in Green Bay. Everybody has a fan base. And you have people, the Jets, Jets. Everybody loves when the fans are that way. They love when it was a raucous crowd. No one loves playing when it's quiet and everybody's sitting on their seats. When Golden State's playing at Oracle Arena and the crowd is going crazy, you can't even hear. People love that. Joe Montana said to Coach Bill Walsh one time in the Super Bowl down in Florida, can you believe that Giant Candy's here? Look at all the movie stars here at the game. It was always that way in L.A., but if you're Milwaukee and you're Giannis or Middleton, any of the players there, are you concerned that your head coach, who doesn't know strategy, at least from the last 2 games, is more preoccupied with what a fan is doing to the opposing coach than strategizing why Giannis is being double teamed and they're losing by double digits? Would that bother you? Your thoughts?
Wouldn't bother me at all, because the reason why the coach brought it up is because the media brought it up to the coach.
Yeah.
The coach is not sitting down looking and watching what the other opposing coaches during a game, Charlton. He's not sitting there to see what type of fan involvement there is during a game. You think about Pete Carroll's tenure while he was at USC.
Yeah.
Look at the star-studded lineup that was on the sideline at all
Jay-Z.
USC games.
Yeah.
I mean, every entertainer in Hollywood had a USC jersey on the sideline.
Yeah.
They could hobnob with Pete Carroll. Did it affect Pete Carroll and his coaching? No, Charlton.
No, they kept winning.
It's what the media wants to make of it. Like I said, Toronto has not been seen on television all year long in the U.S. Now all of a sudden they're on prime time every night in the playoffs and playing well. So let's find something that we can dig at, because the game is what the game is.
Yeah.
So that the media has made Drake the story. Who is the one controlling the camera going on Drake? It's the media director. I mean, it's the producer, it's the director, and it's the ISO director. It's not the coach. You don't know what actions that the coach has had with Drake all year long, Charlton.
Right.
No one knows what their relationship. They don't know how they deal with each other. So, the media wants to build a story because they're devoid of being able to talk about the game in excess.
Yep.
So they want to bring some outside entity, just like it has some involvement with the game. No, it doesn't.
Yeah.
Drake has no involvement with the game. It reminds me when the Lakers and the Celtics used to play, and Jack Nicholson used to travel across the country in those final series, and he could never get a courtside seat in Boston.
No, he couldn't.
He would have to sit up there on the balcony.
Yeah.
But, this is what big-time fans do, Charlton, with the money they have. When you look at a major sporting event, whether it's the NHL playoff, World Series, NBA, NFL, the people with the money will get the seats that they want.
All the time. Yeah, money talks, Big C. And the crowd beat LA. That was made famous in Boston when the Lakers would play the Celtics. In Detroit, beat LA. So fans got to be involved. Too much attention given to Drake. I want to do one more gossip story. I don't know if it's gossip, but when you don't win, sometimes people can like each other, but not like each other's game, if that makes sense. Out of Texas, Houston, Texas is a great city. But the Texans, there's a lot of gossip about them good old boys down in Texas about Chris Paul and James Harden not being able to coexist outside of the TV commercials, where there always happens something going wrong and the insurance guy shows up to face a problem. Well, they're combined for $77 million next year. And you got 2 marquee guys that hold the ball for about 20 of the 24-second shot clock before they get other players involved. There's not enough balls to go around in Texas. And Chris Paul still due 2 more years in his contract. Do you see a parting of the garden down there, of that guard, those 2? They can't win a championship together. Your thoughts?
Well, didn't we hear this crap about Golden State several months ago, Charlton, that Durant and Green couldn't coexist in Golden State? The media can create any story that they want.
Right.
Until I hear players, and being a former player, until I hear players step up and say, I don't want to be around these guys. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
I heard Anthony Davis say that. Get me out of New Orleans.
Yeah.
Okay? I don't want to be here. I haven't heard any other NBA player say, get me out of a city. The media will build a narrative all the time.
Yeah.
Because Houston hasn't played basketball, in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, they're on front page with the NBA Finals getting ready to happen?
Yeah.
You don't talk about teams that are not playing when the NBA Finals are about to happen. And you're talking about something that allegedly occurred 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
How much legs does that have, Charlton? If it took 2 weeks to get that lie started,
yep.
Where will it be in a month?
Well, I gotta, before we get into some NBA action tonight, and I've covered sports about 30 years. I know you've done about 45, 50 years. But a story came out in Northern California paper. The NBA cheerleader team, the Sacramento Kings, their dancers, they were upset because the team is going more co-ed and more hip-hop. Now, I gotta preface this. It's predominantly a white cheerleading crew. They may have 1 or 2 other women of color, but it's about all white for the Sacramento Kings. I guess they want it that way. Their players are mostly African-American. But the dancers are upset because they think that for 30 years they've been a part of the team's success, The organization hasn't made the playoffs since 2006, and they're upset. Now listen to why. Because the organization, which is owned by an Indian man, by Vak Ranadive, they want to go with more co-ed and more hip-hop influence, which is the makeup of the league. But the mainstream, they think they're being discriminated against. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charlton, when you live in California, I think there's 13 different sexual genders in California.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about appeasing everybody and being political correct, I know there's been so many groups come out talking about, the cheerleaders are being sexually exploited because of the outfits that they have to wear and go out and dance and shake in the middle of the floor. But the last I checked, they weren't doing it for free. They were getting paid, okay?
Yeah, they get paid.
And they took it as a badge of honor. I remember when the Cowboys, had their cheerleaders back in the 70s, everybody wanted to go to Dallas and play a game.
Yeah.
Just for the cheerleaders.
Okay.
I mean,
I thought it was for the star.
On the sideline and you're staring at the cheerleaders. So, and all the NFL teams took that badge and ran with it.
Yeah.
Just like with the Lakers cheerleaders in the 70s and 80s. Everybody ran with what they did, and everybody started dressing scantily like they were.
Yeah.
So when you look at this, Charlton, and a lot of cheerleaders are taking their jobs, as cheerleaders and catapulted them into great careers. Paula Abdul did that, Charlton. Jennifer Lopez did that, Charlton. So, a lot of them have seen that as an opportunity to get to the next level. It's just like with college athletics, Charlton. Everybody's not going to succeed.
That's true.
When you're sitting there and you're trying to say that you're being discriminated against because they're dealing with gender equity in California, that's the wrong tree to bark up.
Yeah, and when they say hip-hop, that's the way of saying black without saying black, because some people don't want to be black, but they'll take hip-hop. Like some people don't want Obamacare, but they'll love the Affordable Care Act. It's the same thing. I remember when I got started covering sports, I had the good fortune, if you call it that, to be next to some Raiderettes down at the Coliseum in Oakland. And there was a gentleman by the name of Al Locasell, which was Al Davis's right-hand man back in the day. He interviewed all of them. I'm sure they all have their own processes. But I remember standing next to some of these Raiderettes, and they don't make a lot of money. Yeah, they're very beautiful, and they could get the crowd riled up. But this might sound dumb. I think cheerleaders are great. But I've yet to see 65,000, 70,000 fans in a stadium because they have some cheerleaders on the sideline. And I may be wrong, but some teams still don't have cheerleaders. If I'm misunderstanding that, let me know, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, the Green Bay Packers does not have cheerleaders.
Yeah.
So, that's an NFL franchise without them.
So how do they sell out? How do they
made a paltry $50 a game.
Yeah.
$50 a game, that's all they made. So they were doing it for the exposure, and I'm not talking about the clothing.
No pun intended.
They were doing it more for the exposure and opportunity
than
they were for the business end of it.
Yeah, so how do the Packers sell out if they don't have cheerleaders that are barely dressed, Big C, your thoughts?
You mean they're not coming there to watch the football game? They don't go to a basketball game to watch it? Think about it.
Yeah.
Hockey has no cheerleaders.
No.
And they have no problem packing the house and having a raucous crowd during the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. And again, everybody has a right to pursue whatever makes them happy. But I just think it's crazy.
America's pastime never had a cheerleader. You've never seen a cheerleader
in baseball.
At a baseball game.
Yeah. Well, they may start.
When you think about only the NFL and the NBA have incorporated cheerleaders. And at one point, all the teams did not have cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Like I said, Dallas Cowboys were the ones that everybody wanted to go play because of the cheerleaders.
Yeah.
Then everybody else added them on. Most of the NFL teams added them on.
Yeah.
Even the basketball teams, but baseball's never had them. Hockey's never had them.
Yeah. That's interesting because maybe baseball should consider adding cheerleaders. It might make another few thousand people come, or is that maybe that's not too bad of a choice, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, no, you can't put them in baseball because which one of them is going to catch that line drive, Charlton? All of a sudden you got a lawsuit.
Yeah.
You can't have, cheerleaders have been for entertainment.
Yeah.
They haven't been there to enhance a sporting event. It's been eye candy over the years.
Yeah.
I mean, they've caused a lot of animosity in relationships because husbands have stared at them or girlfriends have stared at them.
Really? Wait, hold on. Are you breaking news? Hold on a second. I thought when you guys played, you were focused on the guy across the line. You saying you looking at the sidelines too, Big C, like Drake?
like I told you, Charlton, everybody wanted to go to Dallas because of the cheerleaders. We made sure that the Cowboys were on the schedule that year. Hey, the Cowboys, okay, we got the cheerleaders.
Yes, that's funny. I got to live better. I want to get on tonight's game. It's a big game, Big C. NBA playoffs tonight. Toronto Raptors, they're 58-24 at Milwaukee, 60-22. The winner of Game 5 will most likely win the series. Toronto, they shoot 80% from the free throw line. Milwaukee's averaging 77%. If this is a game where you're going down in the paint and getting the foul calls, then Toronto has a better chance coming out of here with the win. Milwaukee likes to shoot the three for some reason. They want Lopez shooting threes as opposed to playing around the basket. Maybe it's because he's not a good free throw shooter. And that's where they think they can get their points, Big C, because you're going to foul him. But I think if Milwaukee's going to win, they got to get down inside the paint and get their buckets inside. They're not shooting the threes all that great. Same thing, Toronto, they're doing the right thing so far. Your thoughts?
Well, when I look at Milwaukee, you got 3 7-footers, Mirotic, you got Lopez, you got Giannis. All of these guys are playing outside the arc.
That's crazy.
Toronto figured out how to stop Giannis. You got Middleton, who is being atrocious at point guard for Milwaukee. So they're taking the ball out of his hands.
Yeah.
But, you're playing this 3-man zone across the free throw line. That's what Toronto has done against Giannis.
Yep.
They're making him give up the ball. And when he's passing the ball, he's throwing it back out. He's not throwing it to anybody under the basket because you got your 2 7-footers sitting out on the arc.
Yeah.
That's what Toronto has done well defensively against Milwaukee. You also got to understand that the road team has lost all the games in this series. Both road teams are 0-4 in this series.
Yeah.
So we come down to the best 2 out of 3 in this series.
Yeah.
And so for either one of these teams to win the series, Charlton, especially Toronto, they have to break the jinx. Now, this is the first time all year long that Milwaukee has lost 2 consecutive games.
Yeah.
When they lost this 2 games in Toronto.
Yeah.
Now, they haven't lost 3 consecutive games all year long.
No.
And you think about that, Charlton. 3 games all year long. So if they lose tonight, then this series is over. Toronto's going to the NBA playoffs. But either one of these teams, Charlton, I don't see as a solid matchup for the Golden State Warriors, because when you look at what the Warriors have done offensively and the pressure that they put on you, they interchange players so well that they play the game with such speed and tenacity, and that's what they have more than either one of these teams that's left in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
Is the speed team speed on the starting 5,
yeah,
and even off the bench.
Well, when you look at a guy like Giannis, and he's amazing. He averages 27 points a game regular season, 12 rebounds and 6 assists, leading the team in all those 3 categories. So whenever he's on the bench, you're losing their leader in points scored, rebounds, and assists. Toronto, you look at Leonard averaging 27 points, Lowry 9 assists, Gasol 9 rebounds a game. So you can mix those players around. Giannis is like Kareem right now. When Kareem dominated up in Milwaukee under the great name of Lou Alcindor, Giannis is in that same role. He has to have a breakout game. Looking again at some of the...
Well, I don't know if he's as dominant as Kareem, but you think about Giannis in the last 2 games in Toronto, he's only averaged 16 points a game.
Yeah.
Kareem was never held in check like that when he was in the playoffs. He knew how to get his shot off. When you figure out that Giannis wants to drive to the basket because he's not confident in his jump shot,
yeah,
that's what Budenholzer has done. What Nick Nurse has done in Toronto.
Yeah.
He's figured out what Giannis's Achilles heel is.
Yep.
Don't allow him to get to the rim. He was tied for the league lead in free throw attempts during the regular season with James Harden.
Yeah.
They've been able to hold him in check. Plus, he's only hitting about 70% from the line when he gets there.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. But he's their Kareem. He's their Lou Alcindor. They're gonna go with him, and if he doesn't succeed, then Milwaukee would get knocked out of the playoffs, even at home, and they'll see more Drake. What would Drake do with the Splash Brothers coming to town, Big C? Is he ready for that? I know he's been to Oracle Arena. I want to get your feelings on, we talk about athletes, and we'll talk more after the break, but as good as Milwaukee has been all season, I think you've told me that players got to relax more. When I was asking you how do players feel when they're in a championship game, when you're getting paid for it, and you said they got to relax, which obviously that seems opposite of what people think. You think they have to be more intense. Why they got to relax, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the game is the game. There's nothing changed about it. You know, the stakes might be a little higher.
Yeah.
But it's still the game. The clock is still the same. The floor dimensions are still the same. The officials are still the same the way they call the games. Nothing changed about a professional game. I can remember the first time I was ever in a playoff game, Charlton. The heighten of excitement in there.
Yeah.
But after the first series, I'm like, this is just another game.
Another game.
The stakes are higher, but it's still just another game. You have to play the same way.
Yeah.
When you look at the Warriors, they've been down this road 5 consecutive years.
Yeah.
They have played the same in every series. Kawhi Leonard has not altered his game any. He's been down this road before. He knows what's expected of him.
Yeah.
You know, in the playoffs. Dennis Green, the same way with Toronto.
Yeah.
He's been in championship series with Kawhi.
Yeah.
So these players are not undaunted by what has gone on in the playoffs. It's the first-time player when you get there. You saw the Rams in the Super Bowl last year.
Yeah.
Those guys hadn't been there before. They didn't know how to make adjustments to New England.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick knew what to do. He knew how to coach his team.
Yeah, he's always there.
Everybody wanted the next Sean McVay, so I guess everybody wants the next choking NFL coach.
That's speaking of choke. I don't want to choke on my own libation, Big C. What we're gonna do is do what's called a Big C break. We're gonna come back after the Big C pause, and I'm gonna get your thoughts on some things that are going on in the world of sports, and just get an idea on how things are going to shape up for all the players that are making these all-star teams, because we know it's important, and we'll talk about that after we take the Big C pause. All right, we are back on the Big C Sports Show after the Big C pause. You can hear Big C Sports on the iHeartRadio network, on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, also YouTube channel, and Comcast Xfinity Network. So we thank all of our sponsors for the growth. I want to get your feeling, before we even get into who made it an all-star team, can you imagine that one of the best shooters in the NBA, in fact, three-point shootout, one of the best players in the universe, Klay Thompson, not being chosen on an all-star team, first, second, or third? That make any sense? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, what they look at is statistics when they're doing these teams. They're not looking at who's doing what in the playoffs. These teams were selected before the playoffs started.
Yeah.
It's based on the body of work in the regular season. What did you do to get your team to the level that they needed to be successful?
Yeah.
You look at teams, Charlton, that didn't make the playoffs. Do they have players on the all-star team? That's what you look at.
Yeah.
How do you make yourself better? That's what an all-star team is how you reward your team, not yourself, how you reward your team. But when you look down at it, your first team of anything, Charlton, the NBA, you got 30 teams, okay?
Yeah.
30 teams in the NBA. You got 5 first position slots at every position. You have 30 point guards. You have 30 shooting guards. You have 30 power forwards. You have 30 shooting forwards. You have 30 centers. So in that, Charlton, you're going to have 25 guys that are pissed off and upset when you pick a first team. So you sit there, you can't appease everybody. It's a media contest, Charlton, about who likes who. Because right now, the most valuable player in the playoffs has been Draymond Green.
Yeah.
He didn't make anybody.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That's true. That's a good point. So give me your thoughts. Do you like the first 5? And again, everybody has a choice. I would like to have the players pick them. You have Harden for the Rockets, Curry for the Warriors, Giannis for the Bucks, George for the Thunder, and Jokic for the Nuggets. Big C, your thoughts?
You know, that's a solid choice, Charlton. When you look at it as an all-star team, yes, it is a solid first choice as an all-star team. All of those guys did something that was memorable to get their teams to the position that they were in the playoffs.
Yeah. What about your second team, Big C? The Blazers. They have Lillard, Irving for the Celtics. You have Durant for the Warriors, Leonard for the Raptors, Embiid for the 76ers. Now, if Durant's considered the best player right now in the league, how's he second team? And if Embiid is considered the best center, depending on who you're listening to, how's he second team? Give me your feelings on those players.
How many games did they miss, Charlton? That's what you got to look at.
Yeah.
How much did they contribute to their teams? When you miss 20, 30 games during the season, Charlton, how do you make first team? Because when you have a guy that's playing all the games throughout the season, playing 80 games, you can't displace him, Charlton, regardless of how good you've been for your team, because 30 of those games you weren't there.
Yep. Third team, I want to get your thoughts. Westbrook for the Thunder. You have Walker for the Hornets, who's about to make about $200 million if things work out for him. Griffin for the Pistons. You have LeBron James for the Lakers. And then you have Gobert for the Jazz. Now, if people think LeBron's the best player in the universe, he should be carte blanche the first pick. Remember I asked you about private planes, flying first class versus flying commercial? Is there a difference in all three? Well, if he has a private plane, shouldn't he always be first team NBA? Big, your thoughts?
Well, you know, when you look at these selection committees, Charlton, it's a popularity contest.
Yeah.
The media is not like LeBron James all year long.
Right.
If the Lakers had made the playoffs, that's the only way that he was going to make the first team.
Yeah.
They needed to find a way to not have him make the first team. This is a throwback at him from the media, saying that we don't have to look at you and respect you. But the thing about it, they won't walk away from an interview.
No, they will never walk away from an interview. That's always true, and we know that's the case. I want to get your thoughts before we get on a few more things, Big C. With the NHL playoffs starting this weekend in the hunt for Lord Stanley's Cup, have they sterilized that cup that Ovechkin had for about a couple of months, Big C? I hope it's sterilized. Or do they do like you do with water bottles when they what they call them, recycle the cup, Big C? Is it a new cup? Your thoughts?
No, it's the same old cup. They got a lot of Lysol and bleach out to make sure they got most of the germs out.
Yeah. So, who should you root for? Boston Bruins and their goalie Tuscan Rask, or the St. Louis Blues, whose first appearance was 49 years with red-hot goalie Jordan Binnington? I want to say for the Midwest alone, and because Boston seems to win everything, I would think the Blues would be America's favorite, but most likely not the favorite choice for the Bostonians. Based on your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, I got to look at Justin Binnington, the goalie for the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
He's been wielding a hot stick and covering that goal. I mean, he gave up one goal in the last game against the Sharks. He has proven without the officials benefiting the opponent that he's been a dominant goalie, Charlton, all season long, and especially here in the playoffs. And who would have thought that a rookie could have played this well in search of the Stanley Cup?
Yeah, that's true, Big C. Well, I know it's all fair in love and war. It's great to see hockey. Do you think that this is a dumb question I'm going to ask you. I ask dumb questions all the time. But will prop betting surface his head like the improbable 5-minute power plays or some of the other shenanigans that we saw going into this? And we know everybody likes to gamble on things. I hope it doesn't surface his head, but do you think we'll see some influence from Vegas? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the thing about hockey, it's more of a purist game. We see the NBA, we see the NFL, and officials miss a lot of egregious calls. You have to understand hockey. The one thing that hockey will do beyond those other sports is that they will go back and check the replay, Charlton, to make sure that they get it right. And it's going to be even more tighter here in the Stanley Cup, especially after some of the actions that occurred in some of the Sharks playoff series against Las Vegas and against Colorado.
Yes.
So that's the one thing I've always appreciated about hockey is that they have no problem going to the replay official, Charlton, calling the command center in Toronto and getting the call right.
That makes a lot of sense. Big C, I know you put up with, you just like when you're on the private planes, you put up when you can't get a hold of one and you got to fly first class. Imagine somebody complaining about first class. And then if first class not available, you complain when you got to get a commercial. I understand, depends on where you're flying from. So you put up with other sports because you really love football. And I know that's your heart. In college football, you might love that more than pro. But I know you know about all of them. College football is less than 100 days away. The top 5 games of week 1 of the college football season. It's amazing. It's amazing how college football can even get our, what do you call it when you smell you talked about Cinnabons, when you walk through the mall, you can smell it and you start salivating. I know football can do the same thing with big games. We have August 24th, Florida versus Miami and Orlando. Does that still have the cachet it used to have, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it has that opportunity. Dan Mullen has gone back to where he spurned all his coaching knowledge under Urban Meyer down at the University of Florida when they were a nationally ranked program. And being able to go play Miami, an interstate rival, something that you have not played for decades. They have a new man at the helm, Manny Diaz. who spent one day as a Temple coach before he went back to Miami. And so this game, Charlton, is for bragging rights right out the gate in the state of Florida.
Yeah, well, next game is really big for Pac-12 football. August 31st versus Auburn versus Oregon in Arlington, Texas. Last time Oregon opened up in Arlington, they played LSU down in Texas and got beat. Now they'll play Auburn, which knocked off Washington last year. I think it's due for the Pac-12 to show that they can play football. They have a great quarterback at Oregon. Gus Malzahn, you think about it, hoping to rebound from last year. New quarterback Mario Cristobal. And I think a guy that will be up for the Heisman Trophy by the time the bowls run around is Justin Herbert at Oregon. He'll be waiting to take the helm for the Pac-12. I would say he's one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the universe for college. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the last time these two teams met up on the national stage, it was for a national championship. Cam Newton against Mariota.
Yeah.
And Cam Newton came out on top with the University of Auburn during that game.
Yeah.
Then when you think about Oregon, they've had one of the top recruiting classes in the country. Mario Cristobal is changing the stature out there in Oregon of being a more dominant program physically, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, they came up against a couple of physical teams last year, and they fell by the wayside. This is going to be a true challenge out of the gate, playing one of the top physical teams in the SEC, Charlton, on the road.
Well, we'll see how that holds up. Another thing that I have to you got to pay attention to, because especially when you're a Pac-12 team, and we have the Mountain West, which is right by them. But in stature, I would say Boise State has done as much on a national level as any Pac-12 team, maybe the last year. I won't say more than USC 2 years ago, but over the last year, they were ranked as high as Washington many times, and they went down to I think it was Oklahoma State and lost. But you look at Oregon, they're opening up. Fresno State will play Southern California at the Coliseum. And I don't remember the year, but I think it was 2005 when Fresno State went down there under Pat Hill against Pete Carroll, and they lost 50-42. Fresno State had the lead in that game late in the fourth quarter, and that's the same year that USC went on and lost in the national championship game at the Rose Bowl. So the Bulldogs, when they get to play the USC Trojans, they play up because a lot of guys come from Southern California. Is that a smart game for USC in their rebuilding process? Big C, your thoughts?
Well, you got to look at it from this aspect, Charlton. The last time these two teams have played, they have split.
Yeah.
Larry Smith was the coach the last time that Fresno State beat USC down in Anaheim.
Yeah.
So this is a game that USC's season is on the line, and Larry Smith's job is on the line. Not Larry Smith, but Clay Helton's job is on the line, Charlton. First game of the season out the gate for USC.
Yeah.
With Fresno State, who had the only ranked team in the top 25 in California last year.
Yeah.
If they go down to Southern California and beat USC in this opener, I don't see Clay Helton lasting past week 5 of the season.
Well, there's a lot of people that don't want Clay Helton to be the coach, but I'm telling you something about Tedford. When Tedford played football at Fresno State, I think they were going to what's called the California Raisin Bowl back in the day, and I think their first game was against Bowling Green from the Midwest Conference. He later went on, he learned under the tutelage of Jim Sweeney, the late Jim Sweeney, who sent as many players to from college football to the NFL as any coach in the Pac-10 at that time under the great Jim Sweeney. He took Cal Berkeley to number 1 in the country a couple of years ago, and they ended up losing that game to Oregon State at home. But that's what they have back at Fresno State. Look at North Carolina down south, you good old boys. North Carolina versus South Carolina. That game will be in Charlotte, North Carolina. Your friend Mack Brown, I thought Mack Brown was working at TV. When did he get a job? See, maybe, I think you told me about that. Mack Brown returns to the helm of coaching. He has a legacy. He built up a legacy for Texas, won a national championship, but he's back in the saddle for college. Will he be in over his head, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he's been out of the coaching sidelines for the past 5 years, sitting comfortable on television.
Yeah.
And now he goes back to where he's got a big start down in North Carolina, Charlton, prior to going to Texas. But he's going to be facing Will Muschamp down in South Carolina. And Muschamp is hoping to challenge for the SEC East title.
Yeah.
He's built a solid foundation down there in Carolina. And so this is going to be a challenge for Mack Brown.
Yeah.
Has he lost it after being off the sidelines for the past 5 years?
Wow, that's interesting how you imagine And it goes, everybody deserves success and opportunity. Then we talk about the lack of African-American coaches. Imagine if you're an assistant anywhere in the country in college football. And when you think you're putting your time like they tell you to, so you can be next in line for a head coaching job. And they bring in old white guys who've been in TV for 5 years, haven't seen anyone want a rim sprint in 5 years, haven't done double days, and they give them the job that you've been on the sidelines in the trenches for. Does that make any sense, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's that good old boy network. You bring back somebody that you're comfortable with. It's just like in relationships. You go back and you find the girl that you were in love with in high school, after you've gotten a divorce.
I thought you had,
a lot of guys do that. That's what coaching is all about, Charlton.
Yeah.
You reach back into the past. You say, well, this guy, 20 years ago, we had a solid program down there under Mike Brown. Then he left us. He went for the pretty chick in Texas.
Yeah.
So he left us and went to Texas. They got rid of him. So let's go back and see if he still, look okay without makeup on.
Is he going to bring Vince Young with him? That's the question, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Vince Young, Lawrence Taylor, all those great defensive players, Charlton, that they had down there in Carolina.
Yeah.
Is he going to be able to have any mustard? The thing about being out of the game for 5 years.
How are you going to be cruised?
Is how much do you identify with the young players now? When we look at the young players of this me generation, Charlton, everything's changed from the time that you were there 5 years ago. It's like 20 years in dog years now in coaching. Charlton. If you haven't been in touch with these young men, how are you going to interact with them?
Yeah, and I know everybody needs opportunity, but I think that would be just taking like taking an assistant coach and putting him on the TV and making him the head broadcaster. It doesn't make any sense. You got to cut your teeth. But like you said, it's all nepotism and cronyism. September 1st, speaking of the state of Texas, Big C, you have Houston at Oklahoma, and those teams recruit the same state of Texas, of course, and Oklahoma too. You have Holgorsen that left West Virginia to go to Houston to run that high-powered offense. But Lincoln Riley has a new quarterback that has a national championship in Jalen Hurts that left Alabama to go there. And, the last two Heisman Trophy winners. What's your feeling on Houston in a game against Oklahoma where they recruit the same cities, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Houston is a team with a lot of talent, a lot of speed, Charlton.
Yeah.
You look at Dana Holgorsen coming there. He wasn't able to get the job done against Oklahoma at West Virginia.
Right.
Even though they had some great shootouts. That game last year had some 1,300 yards in total offense between the two teams, Charlton.
Yeah.
So this is the fireworks that you're expecting in this shootout with Houston. They had a team that could score 42 points a game last year.
Yeah.
So you expect for that offense to be much better. It's what can he do with the defense? Holgorsen has never been a defensive specialist, even when he was at Oklahoma State coaching under Mike Gundy there.
Yeah.
But when you look at Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma and what he has built at that program after Bob Stoops has left, Charlton, he's had the two current Heisman Trophy winners, the two last Heisman Trophy winners. He has Jalen Hurts, a quarterback that has won a national championship, something those two Heisman Trophy winners he could not do, Charlton.
Yeah.
So he brings in instant leadership and credibility. Now, if he could develop Jalen Hurts, and they talk about quarterback whispers, I don't know if Lincoln Riley can afford to live in Oklahoma after this, Charlton.
Yeah, and that's an interesting. Even when you think about that game and all the games we talked about, I still think when you look at college football, and it's great we're starting out big, I also want to pay homage to the high school level. You have a school out of Las Vegas called Bishop Gorman. They've won several national championships. They had a 55-game winning streak prior to last year when they had lost to Mater Dei of Santa Ana, eventual national champions, back-to-back national champions. They're playing at St. Louis High School of Honolulu, Hawaii, and that school has won 10 Hawaii State championships. So I'm sure in Las Vegas, Nevada, they can't find a team in Las Vegas or Nevada to play, so they fly to Hawaii for a football game. Do they fly first class, or would it be private pleasure, thoughts, Nixie?
Well, Charlton, I think they're going to have to sit coach and probably at the back of the bus. But, this is one of those outreaching things that you see now in high school athletics.
Yeah.
And they talk about not paying players.
Yeah.
Where does the funds come from, Charlton, to fly a team 3,000 miles to play a football game? Not only just to fly, Charlton, you got to put them up.
You got to put them
up.
At
least 2 days overnight, and you're going to spend 3 days at Island.
Yeah.
And this game is generally on a Friday night, most high school games, Charlton.
Yep.
So what do they have to leave on Wednesday? What about the academics?
Yep.
Where does that come into play? What is their education, first and foremost? how much are these high schools making for this game? And most likely ESPN is going to broadcast it.
Yeah.
So they're going to pay these high schools. Are they going? Is the money going to be dispersed throughout the leagues that they play in? And Gorman is probably a private school.
Yeah, they're private school. Yeah.
So they keep all the money that they get from the broadcast. They don't have to share it within the school district down there, Charles.
Yeah, and just some of the players that played at St. Louis, Marietta, he played for the Titans now. He came out of St. Louis or Honolulu. As far as Bishop Gorman, Randall Cunningham's son went there. Snoop Dogg had a son that went there and ended up going, I believe, to UCLA. So when you have money, you can get your kids to go to different schools. I know they have matchups all over the country, different schools playing different people. But I just think it's all great. It's all fair and love and war. Last year, it was IMG Academy out of Florida. I think they're out of Bradenton, Florida. They're a private school. They flew to Los Angeles last year and had their first loss in 4 years. They lost to Mater Dei of Southern California, the eventual two-time national championships. So it goes on, and everybody loves competition. I don't know how fair it is for teams that are in that district that cannot get some of that TV money that you talked about, but I don't think it's going to stop at all. I wanna get your thoughts before I get out on some baseball. I know we mentioned those big marquee games to open the season, but if there's a game that you really take the time to clear that schedule for to go see, I still think it's a USC Notre Dame, especially when they're both winning. I think Alabama Auburn, gotta see that one. Texas Oklahoma. I don't think that, Ohio State Michigan, yes. Pittsburgh Penn State, I wouldn't say so. But another team, Oregon State, yes. Washington State. But would you believe on the West Coast, it's becoming Boise State, Fresno State as the team that could be, that's going to win their conference in Mountain West. That's taking as much status as some of the bigger games in the bigger conferences. Is there a team down south? We've heard of Grambling versus Southern. Any schools that you just say, I got to see that game? Big C, your thoughts?
Charlton, when you think about heritage games that are played every year, they're going to be a sellout regardless of the records of the team.
Yeah.
When you look at Alabama Auburn, it is always going to be a sellout regardless of the record of the team.
Yeah.
The Red River rivalry between Texas and Oklahoma. When you look at Michigan, Ohio State, Charlton, it is always going to be a sellout. When you talk about some of those West Coast games, Charlton, it's based on the record of the team. Will they be a sellout in the stadium? You think about UCLA and USC. That's the battle for Los Angeles.
Yeah.
They don't know how to sell out a stadium down there, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you look at West Coast football, you talk about Washington State last year.
Yeah.
That game was played in a stadium that I think seated 34,000
Yeah, about
people.
34,000, yeah, Coleman.
So you really can't say that the luster of West Coast football is what it is down south. You play a game at the University of Texas. That stadium seats 105,000. Alabama, 103. Texas A&M, 107,000. LSU, Death Valley. When you get a game down at Death Valley at night, Charlton, 105,000 people. So when you talk about these mega stadiums, the University of Georgia, playing at home against South Carolina, or playing Georgia Tech, Charlton, in an interstate rivalry.
Yeah.
These are going to be packed houses regardless of the records because of the tradition of football down in the South. Even Tennessee, that's had a struggling program, Charlton, they still get 100,000 people in Knoxville, and they haven't had a winning record, nothing to write home about in a long, long time.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I wish everybody the best for kicking off football. I still hope that we can find a way to pay players. It's only fair. Would you believe the United States population, Big C, is only 13% African American when you think about that? 13% African American in the United States of America. But if you look at the black population in the NBA, it's about 80%. Some say, 80, 82%, somewhere in there. If you look at the population, African Americans, 13% United States of America. But the NFL, about 70%. Some say 75%, somewhere in there is pretty accurate. But when you think about it, how do they dominate sports when discrimination has kept them out? There's been this antipathy for black Americans to talk about social equality because that's a platform they can use. So with all of those challenges, how have they come to dominate sports when we are barely a part of 13% of the population? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, African Americans just don't dominate sports. They dominate a lot of parts of mainstream society. It's just not noticed. It's easy to pigeonhole them in sports because you can see them, you can visualize them. So that's the reason why. And when African Americans have had an opportunity to compete, Charlton, regardless of the field, whether it's medicine, whether it's science, with anything, Charlton, they compete at the same percent that they do as athletes. That same percentage of African Americans follow in every major industry in America when they're given equal opportunity to compete.
Yes.
In athletics, they have been given equal opportunity to compete. That is the reason why they have dominated, because it's mano a mano.
Yeah.
And so it's the best man up. It's not like calling in for a job interview and say, oh, well, you sounded different on the phone. No, you look different in person than what you sounded on the phone. They just didn't know how to word that properly.
That's funny.
But when it comes down to athletics, Charlton, and when it comes to the eye test,
yes,
and it comes to wanting to win, every owner wants to win.
Yep.
Owners are colorblind when it comes to green and W's, okay?
Allegedly, yes.
They're colorblind to that.
Yeah.
So when it's about making money and it's about winning, Charlton, they're going to embrace that.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to do. In corporate America, Charlton, there's many African Americans behind the scene that you don't see.
Right.
And so, but you're not going to go and advertise corporate America. They're not going to take a camera into an office space and say, okay, let's look at this. Let's look behind the scenes and see what the percentage is.
Yes.
It's a lot higher than 13%, Charlton. I'm going to say in the corporate world, it's 25 to 30% African-American participation.
Yeah, we know it's all about, if it's all fair and love and war, you got to fight for what you want. It's like that. That's what America's about. I want to run down a few thoughts about Major League Baseball today on this beautiful May 23rd matchups. Tampa Bay at Cleveland already underway. You have the White Sox at Houston. Houston's looking very dominant. Also, Washington at the New York Mets, the NETS Mets. Colorado Rockies at the Pittsburgh Pirates. You have the New York Yankees at the Baltimore Orioles. Boston's at Toronto. I'm telling you, it's something about Toronto. That's part of the Canada. It's amazing. You would think all of Canada would be that crazy about sports. I really appreciate how they just show up and represent Big C. You have Miami at Detroit, Philadelphia at Chicago, Atlanta at San Francisco, and then you have Minnesota at the Los Angeles Angels. Give me your feeling, and I want to get this thought again because I think Toronto, no matter what happens tonight in the game, already underway. What could NBA cities learn about Jurassic Park? Because, when the NFL has the NFL Super Bowl, they'll go to a different city, they'll set up NFL Central or, NFL Central, and they have parties and games, and it's an event. You would think watching Toronto, the Raptors, it's the same thing. That make any sense? What can the rest of American leagues learn from that display, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it's a display that's held for a small market. You got to realize that Milwaukee and Toronto are the two smallest media markets in the NBA when it comes to basketball.
Yeah.
That's where they are. So it's easy to have a small market and have everybody gravitate. It's like when you go to Green Bay for a football game. You see something different in Green Bay for a football game than what you see elsewhere in the NFL.
Yeah.
You have loyalty amongst fans. You have fans standing in line at this, 40-year waiting list for tickets for a game in Green Bay.
Yeah.
That's the same thing you have in Toronto. You have a small media market where people are hungry, Charlton. What else is there to distract them? They don't have an NFL team. You have a Major League Baseball team. Your hockey team's been eliminated from the playoffs, but you don't have an NFL team. When you look at the markets that have NFL teams in the NBA, Charlton, the rabidness of the fans is just dispersed out between so many sports. Because not only do you have an NFL team, Charlton, you have an NBA team. You generally have a baseball team, and most of those cities have a hockey team, Charlton.
Yeah.
When you look at Toronto, their only entry into the United States realistically is basketball, because hockey is assimilated through Canada.
Yeah.
It's their national pastime. For them to be Americanized, they think about basketball, and they used to be ravenous about the Blue Jays like that, Charlton, when they first went to Canada. They won a couple World Series in the early 90s, led by Joe Carter.
Yeah.
Beat the Phillies and won in the last one when he hit that walk-off home run. But this is a way that Canada can feel that it's part of America and think that they can upstage America. But you can't, on a cold day in Canada, we don't see that. I believe in December when it's cold up there. You don't see those people outside.
Oh, okay. That's all fair and love and war. I love the Canada influence, though. I want to say you can follow the Big C Sports Network every Monday through Friday at 5 or 6 p.m. on iHeartRadio Podcast, on Spotify, on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Comcast Xfinity, also YouTube channels. We thank our sponsors for the support. I want to just run down before we close out what I think might be Big C's top 5 Major League Baseball teams. You have Houston, number 1. I say the LA Dodgers, number 2. Chicago Cubs, 3. The New York Yankees, 4. And I'd say Minnesota Twins, 5. I don't know if you agree with that, Big C, if that make any sense. Your thoughts?
Well, Houston's playing outstanding baseball, even though they gave up the first triple play of the season today, Charlton, when they had runners on first and second and nobody out, and hit into a triple play against the White Sox.
Yeah.
But, in the Los Angeles Dodgers, all of a sudden, Cody Bellinger slipped below 400 in batting
average.
And
Trade
don't
him,
get serious about batting average until after July 1st, Charlton.
Yeah.
But, when you look at the Yankees, they have put together a solid season thus far, and they've had a dozen players injured.
Yeah.
And they've been doing this for smoke and mirrors, Charlton, but today they hit another 4 home runs against the Baltimore Orioles. So this is a team that once they get healthy is going to be a devastating ball club.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to baseball, but they got to wait their turn until the NBA Finals are over, and that's just how it goes. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man, and he would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, we've got the Bucks playing tonight, so I guess the sign to fear the deer will be out all over Milwaukee and Charlton. So I know you guys have those road crossing signs for animals out in California.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm wondering if they have them in Milwaukee.
I've never known a Southern boy to fear any deer as Big C, and you don't have to fear them either. Every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever an excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please pick up the phone, call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. As we always tell you, on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.